Hey guys, welcome to the next part of this mini series. Today we're going to continue with this guy right here, the helmet. As you can see, I did a couple of more damages here, just simple alphas, a little bit of clay build up train dynamic, just to break up the surface and create that a little bit more interesting. I'm going to show you the render at the end after we finish the new render. I'm going to show you the old render, so as you can see how things differ and how you can, of course, use an old portfolio piece, as I've mentioned, to create something very nice, very new. So we're going to be bringing this into Substance, and the cool thing about this is this actually already has UVs. So I only need to export this thing right here, this lowest subdivision level, because it has the new distortions on the geometry. And if we go all the way down here to UV map and I say morph UV, you can see that the UV is working perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the lowest subdivision here. I'm going to turn off my group option. Where's the group option? Is this not a... Oh, it seems like this is a... It's not a polymesh 3D. That's very weird. I'm going to make it a polymesh 3D. Does it retain everything? Yes, it does. What about this? No, it does not. Huh, that's very weird. It seems like I messed something here on the under transformation, but that's fine. I'm just gonna grab the lowest subdivision then and export this as the, let's call this helmet low. And I'm gonna go to the highest subdivision. I'm gonna make it a polymesh 3D because I think otherwise things are not gonna work the way I expect them to. And then this one right here, I'm gonna go into C plugin, decimation master, and let's decimate it all the way to 250K. I'm gonna pause real quick because this decimation, since it's at 11.4 million, it's gonna take a little while, so it's just gonna be a quick jump for you guys. Very well, so the decimation process is complete. As you can see, this tool now only has 250K points, which is what we're going for, so that it's not as heavy for Substance Painter. And we're just gonna export this as the, inside of our helmet folder, we're gonna call this helmet high. And we're gonna jump into Substance. So while Substance is loading, let me show you guys. Let me see if I can find the original render I did for this guy so that you can see how it was. And again, picking up from what we saw yesterday, one of the very cool things about doing this exercise, grabbing an old work of yours and then trying to do it or trying to update it so that you can have a better portfolio, will allow you to save a lot of time really. Should be here. Hard surface, and probably in images. There we go. So this was the final render that I did, and back there, I only knew very little about render. This was just a basic like Lambert material or Blaine material inside of Maya that gave us this sort of like metallic look. So we're gonna go for something like this. We're gonna go for like I don't want to go blue. I'm gonna go just like traditional metal, but let's add like some really complex shapes into it. So I'm gonna go here into Substance Painter, File. We're gonna create a new one. I'm gonna go work in 4K. Let's go like really big. So let's go here into our assets folder. Let's go into our helmet, and we have our helmet low. So we just open, and we're gonna hit OK. And if everything is working as we expect, we're gonna have our very nice helmet right here. Then I'm gonna go texture set settings, bake mesh maps. We're gonna select the high poly, which is this one. And we're gonna bake at 4K as well. And I'm just gonna change the anti-aliasing to 2x2 so that we have a little bit of a better effect. And let's see how this looks. One of the cool things that I like about the newest Substance is that you can see in real time how things are gonna look. So you can immediately pinpoint if you're gonna have any issues or not. Right now, this looks completely perfect to me. All the cracks, all the wrinkles, all the detail is there. It's very soft as well. That's why I'm adding the 2x2 anti-aliasing, because I know that what we had in ZBrush was a little bit jaggedy. It had a little bit of pixelation to it. So by adding the 2x2 subsampling, we're gonna soften that effect a little bit, and it's gonna make it a little bit easier to work with. Now, the most important map out of all of this is this one, the Ambient Occlusion, because it's going to tell us where the crevices are. But also, you're going to see in the next one, the curvature, because the curvature will pinpoint which parts are concave and which parts are convex. So you're going to see a black map in just a second, with very nice white lines. You can see them right there. So that's the map that's going to allow us to create the dirt and the wrinkles and make sure that everything looks super, super cool. The position, thickness, and all of the other maps, I mean, they are important. Every single map is important, but those, the ambient occlusion and the curvature, are the key maps that we need for the proper dirt that we're going to build. So as you can see, the resolution is great. We have a very, very nice detail. And yeah, so let's see how this goes. Let's start building this up. About to finish, and there we go. Usually, ambient occlusion, roughness, ambient occlusion, normal, and thickness are the ones that take the longest because they take the geometry into consideration. The other things only take the position, so that's why they're usually faster. So this is looking great. So I'm going to go into layers, and let's start building up the main layer. So whenever I do this, I like to do a basic metal layer, a basic dirt layer, and a basic like edgeware layer. So you already know my method. I'm just gonna repeat it real quick. I am gonna go for like this one, like this H scratch metal. I think looks very cool. So I'm just gonna go here. Let's see how this looks. That's perfect. The scratches are a little bit too much, so I'm just gonna remove the height. I don't want height information, I just want color information. And as you can see, the rotation of the scratches is not going in the direction that I want. So I can just rotate this pattern so that it kind of like follows. I think I'm gonna go from top to bottom like this. And as you can see, it's semi-dull, which is cool because I don't want this metal to be extremely shiny yet. So this is a great base. Then I'm gonna grab a typical rust layer. So just gonna go rust, right click, add a black mask, and I'm gonna add a generator. And on that generator, I'm of course gonna use a dirt generator, which will place rust pretty much everywhere. I never leave the rust just like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna increase the contrast actually. I don't want the rust to be as soft. I'm gonna decrease the level a little bit. I don't want as much rust, so something like this I think is good. And I'm gonna change this to a overlay because I don't want the rust to be like this red color. I want to like really combine nicely with the metal underneath. Now the metal, I think we can go darker. So I'm gonna go here in the color and I'm just gonna lower the value of the metal. And the reason we're going to go dark on this base metal is because now we're going to add the metal edgeware with a, let's go with like an iron hammered. This one's fine. And now this one, since this is shiny, I'm just going to add a black mask, add a generator, and this one's going to be a metal edgeware generator. So it's going to hit all of the metal. Look at that beautiful thing. Like now it immediately grabs all of the like the concave areas of our element, and it gives us this very nice result. Now one thing I am going to change here, I'm going to get rid of the grunge amount because I only want the edges to be affected by it, not like everywhere else. It's just the edges of my helmet. That's looking very nice. I think I'm going to soften the contrast and lower the intensity of the wear level just a little bit because I do want to see all of those things like punching or being out there, but not like that. And then I like to change this to linear dodge because it again combines the colors and gives us a nicer blend. Remember, you can always blend how much of the effect you want in your character. So something like that I think feels nice, feels right. Now let's add a gold color. I hate this gold colors right here. These are very weird. I don't know, I just don't like them. But in the smart materials, there's one that I really like. This bronze armor is very cool. The only bad thing about this bronze armor is that it has a lot of layers, so if you want to modify, you have to go inside the channel and modify each one of them. But I really like this bronze armor. I feel it looks cool. Looks old, dated. So there we go. Black mask, and we're gonna go with this thing, which is UV fill, and we're just gonna fill these two things right there. And look at that beautiful thing. Pretty cool, right? Like very quickly we're able to just like decorate this helmet into a nicer way. Now I'm gonna bring this underneath the metal edgeware so that this seems just a gold plating. I don't want this to be like actual gold. It's probably just like a plating, and maybe even bring it all the way down beneath the rust so that we have a little bit of rust as well, pretty much everywhere. And yeah, I mean, there we go. That's a really nice position right now for our basic creation, right? Like if you compare this thing to the render that I show you, I'm not sure where I left it, it's night and day, right? It's completely night and day. Now I'm gonna start adding a couple of more things that are gonna make this thing pop even more. So I'm gonna add a field layer, and I'm gonna add this sort of like, let's call them like dark splotches pretty much everywhere. So I'm gonna change the color only to like a dark color. and I'm gonna add a black mask, and I'm gonna add a fill layer, not a generator, a fill layer. And on the fill layer, I'm gonna look for something called a dirt, and I'm gonna look for this sort of like grunge, scratchy texture, like this one. And if we go into the element here, you're gonna see how this thing is adding just like black splotches pretty much everywhere. And that's gonna add a lot of texture to the whole thing. Now, to make these things pop a little bit more, we can go into the object here and maybe make those like dark splotches a little bit rougher so that those areas are not as shiny. And I definitely wanna make like an overlay or something. Again, just to make sure that this looks good. Now, on the fill layer, on this grunge, we can actually increase the contrast. And you can see that the contrast is gonna be bigger. The balance as well, which is how much. So I do want a little bit more. So see how that's kind of like contaminating my helmet. This is definitely gonna go all the way on the top. And again, that thing is really like breaking up the surfaces of my element and making it look a little bit nicer. I also like to here add a paint layer, and with my brush options, use a little bit of like dots. Just paint a couple of dots here and there. It's kind of like oil or grease that got into the helmet. It's gonna add a lot of history to the whole thing. I'm actually gonna make this shinier, so I'm gonna bring this all the way down, so it looks more like oily marks. I think that looks a little bit nicer. See the transition there on the shadows. When we turn this around, those things are gonna be shining a little bit more than the rest of the elements, and again, that's gonna give us a very, very nice effect. Now, usually objects that are objects in general, the more exposed they are to the sun, the more of a like a bleached effect you're gonna get. For metals, it doesn't really happen that much, but I think if we add it, it's gonna look a little bit nice. So I'm gonna create a new layer here, and let's go for like a yellow color. Now it's just like playing around. I'm gonna go add a black mask. Oop. Right click, add a black mask, and I'm gonna add a generator. I'm gonna use a light generator. And the light generator, it's a light, and I'm gonna make it so that it shines here on the top of the element. I wanna break this thing because right now, as you can see, it's very like flat. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another fill layer with just like a dirt, and I'm gonna multiply this dirt on top of the generator, so you can see that breaks it up. And now one cool thing we can do is we can try and find a nice like blending mode that creates something. It could be like a linear burn, color burn, like you can even go like crazy and try to find like that one right there. That one looks interesting. And then if we need to, we just change the color to something else. Like maybe like a red doesn't look that bad. And again, that's just gonna add some visual interest to the whole piece, and it's only gonna be on the top parts of the whole thing. So it's gonna make it look very, very nice. Now I definitely want to punch or crunch the details a little bit more. Right now we only have the details like coming out. I would like to add the shadows on top. It's gonna be a little bit difficult to do with just a generator. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do another fill layer. This one's gonna be pure black, just color. And I'm gonna say add black mask. I'm gonna add a fill layer as well. And now I'm gonna use the ambient occlusion. So I'm just gonna write here ambient occlusion, and it's gonna fill this thing with the ambient occlusion mask. However, it's inverted, so I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna add a levels here, and I'm gonna invert it so that now we have control over it. And the cool thing about this is we can actually push it on the levels, like we can modify the levels so that we can get either more or less ambient occlusion. However, I think here it's not close. I mean, it is getting there, but it's kind of like burning everything. Let's see if with an overlay we can blend it a little bit more. I think it looks a little bit better. There we go. Now I would like to add a little bit of dirt. I'm imagining that this is a helmet that's been like lying on the ground for a long time, or maybe after a battle. So I would like to add like a dirt layer on the bottom here. And we actually have a smart mask that we can use to do that. So I'm gonna look for some sort of like dirt. I don't remember if I have like a dirt ground or something. I don't think I have one right now. What's this? I mean, the cobblestone could work. If not, I'm just gonna grab like this concrete bear, place it all the way on the top, and then here in the luminosity, I'm just gonna bring the luminosity really down so it's like dirt. And then on the smart masks, this one's right here. There's this one called ground dirt. So I'm just gonna bring it in there, and it automatically will apply a ground dirt mask to the whole thing, or to that layer. There you go. Look at that. Pretty cool, right? Like that's looking very nice. It looks like a very dirty helmet. The only thing I have issues with is the scale of this thing. So I'm gonna increase the scale of the concrete so that the dirt looks a little bit closer to what I would expect. There we go. And we can play around again with the overlays. No, I think I'm gonna leave it normal. Maybe just lower the opacity a little bit. And look at this beautiful thing. Height, I think height is fine. Might be a little bit too much, so I'm gonna go into the height channel and just lower this a little bit. I mean, I do want to have a little bit of height there, but not as much. And there we go. We have this very cool looking helmet. Let's add one more layer. I'm gonna add another layer here, a white layer, but it's gonna be a metallic layer. I'm gonna add a black mask, and I'm gonna add a fill layer. And there's another very cool generator here called the scratches. So it's this grunge scratch. And look at that. So we get some very nice scratches on top of everything. Of course, there's gonna be underneath this element. And I'm gonna make this linear. No, this one's gonna be linear dodge, and we're gonna reduce the amount of intensity right there. With the height, we could actually push the height lower, and that's gonna actually like add a little bit of an extra detail on the helmet. It's gonna break the surface a little bit more, and you can see like up here we're gonna have some extra scratches that are gonna look very, very nice on the whole helmet. So there we go. I mean, this was only a very fast exercise. It took me about, I would say, like 15 minutes on the past video, and then a couple of like almost 20 minutes on this video, and we already have such a better representation of the helmet. I'm gonna just do this render because I want to show you one little cool trick that I learned recently. So I'm gonna export these textures. Let's export them as an Arnold AI standard because that's the one that we've been using, and we're of course gonna export them on our source images for the project that we normally manage. So let's create a new folder called helmet. There we go. And we export. Now we go back to Maya right here. This one we're gonna delete. We're gonna say file, import. We're gonna import the helmet low. Now take a look at this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the substance tab. And there's this very cool thing that I didn't know existed, which is the build a material tab. Remember, whenever we build a material, you have to load the textures, and then you have to connect things, and then you have to change the image format to RAW or to sRGB. Well, this does it automatically. You just select what engine you're gonna do it for, Arnold. Select multiple maps. You navigate to your source images. You select the maps. Hit select, and there you go. Like everything's there. You hit apply, and now in your hypershade, you're gonna have a material, this one, AI standard surface, that has all the connections connected exactly like the way it needs it to. It's actually connecting everything. It's even connecting the height map. I don't think we need the height map for this one, so I'm just gonna delete it. And then this one, I'm just gonna change the name and call this M helmet. Now, some of you, I don't remember who it was, but someone asked me about the infinite plane on the comments. Infinite planes is one of the easiest things to do. Again, you just create a plane. Let's position it right here. And then you grab the back part of the plane, and you just move it up. And then select this guy, move it up. Select this guy, move it up. And when you press number 3, that's your infinite plane. That's all you need. Very simple stuff. I think someone asked if the file was available. It should be. If you bought a course, there should be a file there with the render setup. But if not, that's the quickest way to do an image or infinite plane. Now let's just find a nice little like render. I mean the idea here would be, of course, to create a little bit of like a dirt map or something. But here I'm just gonna to make it look nice. I'm just gonna sit it here on the ground like this. Let's create a nice little composition here. I'm gonna rotate the ground plane so that it's completely covered. And then this is gonna be very graphic, like graphic design, I mean, not violence or anything. I'm just gonna create like a couple of crazy looking cubes here. Let's say panels, look through selected. And the main idea is I don't want this thing to be alone in the scene. A very cool thing to do is change scales. I have different scales so that things look a little bit nicer. Like, now just grab all of this, Control D. Let's group it, center with pivot point, just rotate the whole thing here. Now when we see the thing, we're just gonna have like something, right? It's again, it's just to create a little bit of visual interest on the composition, so that this thing looks as nice as possible. Having depth is always good because we create a little bit more perspective. Now for the lights, very easy, just area light, Arnold lights, Skydome light. We've already done this hundreds of times. We select this guy. On the image file, we go here, and we have our studio country hall. Or county, studio county, or country? Country. I think it's country. And I'm definitely gonna add another light, area light. Right about there. Panels, look through selected. Let's just say mesh display soft and edge. And then we of course need to assign the material, so the M helmet, which by the way, if you press number 6, you should be able to see the textures, which are working perfectly fine. There's this new thing in my, I don't know why this is working, but if you have this ACES1.SDR video, it will show the colors darker than they actually are. If you go here to on tone map, that's like the actual color. Or even if you go into the Unity neutral tone map, that's the color, like the actual color here in Substance. Like if you check this color, like that color matches this color, because this one, it's a little bit too dark. I'm not sure why that is, to be honest. I'm not so familiar with those things, but yeah. So let's just, I'm gonna go to the camera and let's do like 24, so it's a little bit more epic. And now I'm gonna go to my options, system, change this to GPU, activate this so that we have a clean render. Let's move it right about there. I think it's a better composition. Let's save, of course. Always remember to save. This is the Radiant course that I'm talking about, so feel free to, or get ready for this. It's gonna be out in very soon, So let's go here again, scenes, and let's call this helmet. I'm actually gonna set the project real quick, so when we do the image, it saves to where we want. There we go. And yeah, so now we just hit render, and let's see where this is. I always look all the way up in the camera, but no, you guys are here. Thank you, by the way, for hanging throughout this thing. So again, my main focus with this couple of videos, the one from yesterday and the one from today, is to show you that you can take things that you did at first, or like when you were first starting your 3D career, and then just push them. Like, make sure you apply all of the things you've learned to them, and you're gonna get a very nice render like what we're seeing right here. So of course, can we get this better? Yes, a little bit more time, a little bit more work on this, and it will be an amazing piece. But just for 30 minutes of work, this already brings it all the way into the future with new techniques and new elements and new skills, right? So hopefully you guys like this. Let me know in the comments down below what else you want me to do. We're about to start a new project, so I'm getting ideas on more things to do. So write in the comments what things you're interested in seeing, so that we can start a small series. And yeah, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you back tomorrow. Bye-bye.